Come on. I know you're sleeping now. You gotta wake up small, yeah? Okay, let's go. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. So much. I said they lie. The people fool us, so. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not go. I said we tired with their lies. We tired with their promises that led us to all our damages. We tired with their speech they preach indeed, and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrate us. So why did you lie? Why did you steal? Why did you allow the citizens to be? You see, we just tell you that why we voted you. But you fool us, you screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. So much. I said they lie. The people fool us, so. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not to corrupt. No one to trust. My people, no one to hope on. Nobody. My hope that I have been broken. I'm telling you, brother. So where are the schools? Where are the roads? Where are the jobs that they say they could afford? But they're too selfish. The people tired with their rhetoric. People tired, they tired. You see the reason why we ask why the government betray. They have enough of time, but yeah, then stay they delay. People suffer. No work for people crying for hunger. Look at. Your vision and your mission, your intention to the nation, they poor. You got nothing to show. Nothing. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. They lie. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. So much. I said they lie. The people fool us, so. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not go for us. With their promises that left us to all our damages. We tired with that speech they preach indeed, and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrate us. So why did you lie? Why did you steal? Why did you allow the citizens to be? You see, we just tell you that why we voted you. But you fool us. You screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. So much. I said they lie.
Hey, boy. People lie to us, eh? Yeah, good afternoon. It's a wonderful day. Thank God for being alive. A lot of stuff is happening. A lot of people didn't wake up this morning. So if you did, be thankful. If you're listening, definitely be thankful. But we're excited to be here today. George is on travel, so he won't be around. So we'll do this, but the news has been captured totally capture a lot of stuff specific to governance, to corruption, and I don't know whether you call it greed, being unpatriotic, selfish. It's so hard to sometimes comprehend what some of our people are thinking when they do these selfish acts, and the thing is really all about them. Um, they think nobody will find out, or they just don't care that people find out. And that's the level of impunity that is very concerning. That people will, look at what should be for everybody else and then undermine that in a very selfish and personal way. At some point, the people get tired, you know. You only exploit them for so long. But again, maybe some will not get tired, and that's what we gotta expect, right? What do we hear? Um, Sanction, no sanction, I'll vote for we are. So it's about the individual sometimes, where that commitment or quote unquote loyalty is to that individual rather than to your country. And a lot of people don't understand that. But I will share this post. I'm in a chat room. I'm in a chat room with a group of people, and the discussion centers around, we should be, it should be a solutions chat room. But a lot of the discussion centers around it has been kind of split politically in terms of opposition and government folks. And there are just so many government, not a lot of them, but so many positions they stand on when the stuff is obvious that things are not going right. Certain things are happening in this country. They're not recognizing it. And it's like they are oblivious, like totally not aware of what the real situation in this country is. And you wonder, you know, what kind of people are these that would look at these obvious things that's happening in the country and just like act like nothing has happened. And that is scary. One comment from in the chat room that really caught my attention, I thought I had posted it, was by this one individual. And, I want to share that. It's a little bit ahead, but it will be the premise that we'll talk about and then go back to the whole situation in terms of the investment climate report that came out, then the sanctions, the president response, and then the general opposition, civil society, and Mr. Alexander Cummings' response. So just as a food for thought, let me read what this guy says. It's very, very interesting, And this was after a back and forth on this whole issue. He says, nobody can put any spin on the fact that President Weah is an accomplice in the crimes these folks are being sanctioned for. Nobody can put any spin on the fact that President Weah is an accomplice in the crimes these folks are being sanctioned for. Nothing he has done in the past, is doing now, or is going to do in the future is going to absolve him of these offenses. Moba Molu called the president out for misappropriation of public funds years ago. That ended with, that was liquor talk. So let's see if the U.S. Treasury is smoking weed too. Then he closes, he says, I can say with all honesty that nobody that cares about the well-being and progress of Liberia can wish that this dude retains his presidency. The only folks still rooting for him are the beneficiaries of the mass robbery of our country. I repeat, the only folks still rooting for him are the beneficiaries of the mass robbery of our country. I mean, that is a pure indictment of George Weah. You know, sometimes people like to say, oh, that the people around here. I even saw a ridiculous post by, someone who was saying, oh, the American government is cleaning around George Weah so he can win the 2023 elections. So you admit that the atmosphere and environment around George Weah is dirty and nasty, but you want to tell me that you believe that he's clean. Citizen little joke. Let me just get a shout out to people out here. You want to Kringa? Hey, thanks for being here. The person watching from North Carolina, sorry, your name is not showing because Facebook does that when it comes into StreamYard. Kota, thank you for watching closely. Julius, keep following. Isa Kofa. Oh, that's a great point. I'll pin it for you. I'll just share with you what Isa is saying. He said, Isaac, the CDC strategy in these elections is to exploit the short-term memory of the Liberian people, us. And that's a solid point, right? Because why he's saying that? Because we are in an instant gratification environment. The people are only concerned for now because of the poverty and the hunger that exists. Angazi Dwalu, what's up, my man? I was saying the invite so you can come on if you got time. I was saying the link. I knew you wanted to come on the last time, but I'm not sure what happened. So check your WhatsApp. And if you can come on, feel free. I sent a message already. Did I? Something is going on. I don't know. I gotta talk to some kind of tech person because something is going on with my my WhatsApp. I have the desktop WhatsApp as well, and there's like a significant delay, and then it crashes sometimes. So I don't know what's wrong with it, but hopefully we'll get some experts. Yeah, Dwalu. So if you can come on. Paul Chopley, how you doing? Reggie Nasser. Yeah, so you see, here's another person saying something similar. That's Reggie. Reggie say, Isaac, I used to say the same thing. It's the people around the president. But I realize it isn't. It is the president himself. And you are extremely right. Okay? For a guy, McGill, who cannot even correct the president when he call him McGee, will he operate and do all the nonsense that was defined in that report without the clear, tacit acknowledgement, agreement, and approval of the president? I say no. But, let's step back a little bit. The first report from the State Department was the whole issue of the business climate, the environment that's being created. And if you see that report and you read what they said about McGill, and we'll read some of that, you understand what the situation is. That McGill has created a hostile environment for investors, both domestic and foreign, and for the people he worked with. And that's sad. I mean, look, I can read a text that somebody sent me. I mean, I was absolutely shocked that, that was some of the stuff that's going on in government. The guy said, Miguel told Public Works Minister he wants 23 million between now and March 2023 as a condition of her appointment. Then I was informed by another person that the Public Works Minister had basically emptied her 401k in order to pay to get that job. So between her paying for the job and in addition to her utilizing now government resources to be able to provide McGill funding for whatever he wants to do illegally, I believe this lady probably talked to the U.S. government. But let me pause a little bit. I'm being joined by Moba Keseli. Moba.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm good and fired up. It's nice seeing you.
Yeah,
since your
I'm
break,
fine.
I always say you've gotten.
Huh?
Since you've been toy, you have gotten younger. So I want to
But
recognize
man, that two were correct. Oh, that two were correct. But then I started working out again too, so that could be a factor. Once you start exercising again, and hopefully I won't find time to do my lunch break because a lot of people used to follow my lunch break and want to see if they can work out because it's difficult to work out alone or to just kick off working out. Sometimes you need some push, you need some encouragement. The other puppy can be working out, then I myself can work out too. So that's an incentive for some people. So yeah, so basically today we're focusing on the progression of how things are going for this government from the State Department report on the business climate to then the Office of Foreign Assets Control in the Department of Treasury, the sanctions, George Weah response, and then the response of the opposition, and then specifically Mr. Cummings' response today. So, and I just, share with people how McGill is basically like strangulating our economy, right? Because that's where it starts from. Redirecting everything. I mean, some simple processes in different ministry and agencies, from signing claims, mining claims, all those things shifted towards McGill. So simple government operations in its natural state was taken away from those who should have the authority vested in them by basis of the mandate that formed or the law that formed the ministry or agency into his office. Everything centered around McGill. So therefore, he brought the corruption in the office of the president, and the president cannot say he's not aware of that impact on the business environment, because people have oh, there she go. Of course, the public works minister spoke with Americans. She will talk when squeezed. Yes, she will talk when squeezed, because coming back to Liberia is an option for her. I mean, the US is an option for her. But what I'm saying is, when you create this hostile business environment for people, and it's only basically criminal investment opportunities or investment opportunities which you have a share in, that can go. Look, just the other day before this stuff broke, I was talking to somebody else. They told me, oh, Paul Morgan on his way to Turkey to go open furniture and company, so that all the government or Liberia furniture arrangements and contracts can come towards it. What kind of greed is that? You own everything. The amount of mining agreements that McGill is a part of. I can't wait for a legitimate investigation of McGill and all to see the report that this OFAC have put together. It got to be intriguing. But even when we read the report, we see that. So if you want to chime in on the whole investment climate and how that affects, the way people operate, and how Liberians feel disenfranchised because they just cannot. I mean, to even see McGill, people got to pay for him to do his work. People have to pay. Somebody said, but he your best friend. No, McGill, not my best friend. McGill was my partisan. Okay. As a seditious, if CDP people come to the US, many of them leave my house. I never see them from anywhere before, whether they came from a roach infested place into my house, they came to my house. I was like that. And I'll be like that with ANC people if they come from, Liberia and come to the US. That's just the kind of person I am. If you're a strange person on the street, I could bring in and give home to if it was necessary. So, the friendship thing is different, but Liberia come first. Even like my brother, I've said it so many times. My brother, if my brother is corrupt, I will lay him out the same way. So this is about Liberia, folks. It's not about friendship. It's not about family relationships. We have to put country first. We have to. It's important that we understand that this country is for all of us, and it's a responsibility of every Liberian to be able to create some facility for other Liberians and not hamper them, not hinder them, not, constrain the development of the country. So before I get on this soapbox, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you basically laid down the basis for the whole discussion. And let me pick up from where you talk about the whole investment in the country. Many times you hear seditions, and by the way, this is something that President George Weah, in fact, does. They go around claiming that opposition people are ruining the name and reputation of the government in the international community. People protesting all over the place. It's the ones scaring investors from coming. Now, citizens, you have been given the opportunity to know exactly what has been happening. We have said time and again that no one will decide to invest their money in Liberia, where government officials can steal from the people and go scot-free, where people live as though they are above the laws of the land. And what the U.S. government has done is it's an eye opener for the ordinary Liberians and people everywhere. McGill and a lot of them are the ones that are actually stopping investors from coming in Liberia. They are stealing from our people, and they are the ones that stop investors. Every time somebody decides to invest in Liberia, the number one question they ask is, "What is in there for me? What you get for me?" It's not about how it's going to change the lives of our people. Recently, I was talking to a friend who said, they had about $67+ million worth of investment, that was coming to help deal with waste collection and trying to turn waste into something meaningful, and it was going to employ Liberians. And told McGill asked for $1.5 million for them to even look at it. You imagine that? And unfortunately, the president will not do anything to McGill much. He has to keep protecting McGill because look, he got some of the perks. McGill was just his beta. That's all McGill was doing. McGill was the face of everything Joshua is. McGill represented Joshua in all of these gatherings. He did most of the bidding. He was the one running the president's office. As a matter of fact, he is the de facto president. Mr. Cummings once called him the prime minister. And that is what McGill is. He runs, unfortunately, he's running the country ground. Now, you see this and realize that Mr. Weah doesn't mean well for you. I don't know what else you want to see. This is not about opposition or whatsoever. The report clearly states the things McGill has done. So, nobody takes the blame for this. It is the government. And again, George Weah is doing the wrong thing. We all know, and the American people know, that George Weah has suspended people many times. He's sent them for investigations. Nothing after those indefinite investigations. If he does that with this case, the image of the government will remain tarnished, and no one will invest in Liberia. And if he continues doing business with McGill and others, this sanction, by the way, will hope Josh Weah after his tenure. That's something we should say. It is only out of the fact that the Americans want to be diplomatic and they want peace in Liberia. That's why they did not sanction our president. But look, the chief of staff to the president of the republic is found guilty of coming. What makes you think the president is clean? The president is definitely not clean, but I mean, as we progress gradually, we'll get to see how Joshua has been running the country and who Joshua truly is.
And that's the thing, right? The information is there. It's obvious that the people have collected significant amount of information. I believe, and this government or people around it like to say this is the first time for anything. This is the first time that members of the executive branch of government has been sanctioned. And this is scary, and the sanction for the work they are doing within government, not for previous crimes, not for previous activities, but the current environment, how they are treating the situation is what they are being sanctioned for. So that was the premise right there, where significant information probably came from in terms of how McGill was dealing with investors, how he was dealing with his own people. So let's just take a look at this report and try to break it down, because some people may not understand the far-reaching implications in the report in terms of the nuances that stated there, So let's see if we can share our screen and try to go through the report. Go to the window. Okay. Let's see. Mobile, can you see Treasury sanctions senior Liberian government officials for public corruption? Hello?
Oh, Isaac, sorry, I was muted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you? Yeah, okay, so it's on the screen.
Yes, it's on the screen.
Okay. So they start off, they say today, the U.S. Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, designated Liberian government officials Nathaniel McGill, Sema Serena Cephas, and Bill Twelve for their involvement in ongoing public corruption in Liberia. These officials are designated pursuant to Executive Order EO 13818, which builds upon and implements the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act and targets perpetrators of serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world. So clearly, this is the combination of the Executive Order 13818 and the Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act. So it's just not one thing that's twisting McGill right now. It's multiple, couple. So the report says, through their corruption, these officials have undermined democracy in Liberia for their own personal benefit, said Undersecretary of Treasury for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence Brian E. Nelson. Treasury's designations today demonstrate that the United States remains committed to holding corrupt actors accountable and to the continued support of the Liberian people. So we have a commitment for the American government that they want to support Liberia. They want to hold corrupt actors accountable. And to me, that means a lot. Because they could turn a blind eye. There's history that they have dealt with puppet regimes, that they have dealt with corrupt regimes, as a country over time. But this specific instance where they are focusing a significant amount of effort on democracy, especially in Africa, especially with the influx and influence that's growing from the Chinese and the Russians. So this is very important for us. The story continues. Corruption has long undermined Liberia's democracy and its economy, robbing the Liberian people of funds for public services, empowering illicit actors, degrading the business environment, and damaging the rule of law and effective governance in the country. That's just a few of the items that corruption does to this country. Now, they continue. Corruption also contributes to diminished confidence in government and public perception of impunity for those with power. These designations reaffirm the commitment of the United States to hold corrupt actors accountable. The United States is a proud and dedicated partner and friend of Liberia and stands with the people of Liberia in support of democracy and the rule of law, and will continue to promote accountability for corrupt actors, regardless of their position, regardless of their position or political affiliation. The United States is also committed to working with the people and government of Liberia to elevate countering corruption as a priority, including by bolstering public sector anti-corruption capacity, laying all the rules, and reviewing and reevaluating criteria for bilateral and multilateral assistance. You understand it? Including around transparency and accountability. So they're not going to just be throwing money to the government of Liberia anymore. They want to ensure that there are checks and balances in the bilateral and multilateral assistance that will ensure democracy is in effect and corruption is not an issue. And that if there is corruption, the anti-corruption agency has that level of independence to be able to investigate, indict, prosecute, and incarcerate those criminals who are taking the Liberian people money. So they say holding corrupt actors accountable and bolstering anti-corruption efforts are both consistent with and reflects our commitment to implementing the United States strategy on countering corruption. Then they go on to say what each official was corrupt for. Do you want to come in at all, Moba, and say anything on that preface before we touch on the actual crimes that McGill committed? I guess silence means no. Maybe he's on mute. So
sorry. Yeah, I mean, you can go ahead and then we can look at it. But
okay.
Something that's very important that we need to underline is the fact that the U.S. government is clearly stating that they would not consider how powerful you are, or whether you judge you are state the same bed every night.
Thank you. People got to be sleeping on easy. So they say Nathaniel McGill, and they will reference him as McGill going forward, is Minister of State for Presidential Affairs and Chief of Staff to President George Weah. During his tenure in government, McGill has bribed business owners, received bribes from potential investors, and accepted kickbacks for steering contracts to companies in which he has an interest. So he already got interest in the company, probably by forcing the people. Then he asking them for money on top of that again for the place he got interest in to get a contract. The guy is real. McGill has manipulated public procurement processes in order to award multi-million-dollar contracts to companies in which he has ownership, including by abusing emergency procurement processes to rig contract bids. So whatever it is, for example, if the procurement at PPNCC does not have to get to, let's say, beyond 200,000, and you can just do a non-compete kind of bid, McGill got control over that. If he can introduce, based on the necessity that government needs X, Y, Z hurriedly, and we have to expedite the process and bypass the standard process, McGill's introduced that simply to get these rigged contracts approved. They continue. McGill is credibly, when they say he accused, he is credibly, that means they got credible documentation to prove that accusation of involvement in a wide range of other corrupt schemes, including soliciting bribes from government office seekers. Somebody even told me Samuel Twe had to pay McGill money and all for his job. And misappropriating government assets for his personal gain. He has used government funds allocated to other Liberian government institutions to run his own projects. So you understand now why people were crying about fire the other day, the National Fire Service, why they can't have money? The small arms, all these different small operations in government are supposed to be properly funded. They take the funds what they're supposed to use and use it for other things. He made off the books payments in cash to senior government leaders and organized warlords to threaten political rivals. So just imagine the instability he caused in the country, organizing these warlords. So that's another thing somebody brought to me. I was talking to another sedition yesterday. They say all I know is people keep blaming, Koji, that I'm Koji or that McGill. That will be investigated. Hopefully, the Americans can really throw light on who's actually organizing these warlords and threatening political rivals. McGill has received an unjustified stipend from various Liberian government institutions. Can you imagine that? Minister of State collecting here from everybody, just they playing gamble, and use his position to prevent his misappropriation from being discovered. Yeah, job in how. How can people work in this environment? McGill regularly distributes thousands of dollars in undocumented cash to other government officials for government and non-government activities. So basically, the government is being run out of McGill's pocket, not regular function, not central bank, not other banking accounts. It's about money got to pass through McGill. So they conclude McGill is being designated for being a foreign person who is a current government official who is responsible for or complicit in or who has directly or indirectly engaged in corruption, including the misappropriation of state assets, the expropriation of private assets for personal gain, corruption related to government contracts, or the extraction of natural resources of bribery. We can stop there for McGill. We can get to C4 later. So you can come in. Let me stop sharing here. So more about drop off, folks. But look at that litany of charges for the one man. I mean, I was having a discussion with one of our, former citizens supporters back in the day because we had to reach out to different Liberians. And he was telling me that he had picked this, that he knew. I said, but why you couldn't tell me? But a monkey had his mindset, so he came. That's why from day one, with the $200,000 cash purchase he was making at that home, it was clear where his intent was. And we're there for 2 years fighting those things, saying that stuff was wrong. Unfortunately, there was no desire to change. No desire. No desire to make a difference. And that was the mantra we came to change things, to make a difference, to ensure that every Liberian has the opportunity to create an affordable life. That is, if you want to work. Because some people don't want to work. Some people just want it easy, So life is not easy. Life is challenging. Life is difficult. But for those who wanted to work, the idea, the fundamental philosophy of the CDC was to create the opportunity for these people to work. And it's just absent. That mindset that we got to make a difference for the people is very not prevalent in the CDC government today. They don't even care. It's the cosmetic stuff that they want to do. But this level of corruption is horrible. It's overly greedy. And then he doesn't hide it. He exemplifies it by the tomb he built for his mom, the other structures he's putting up, the way he flaunts the nouveau wealth that he has. So it's just amazing that we are in this kind of situation, and our young people today, they don't even understand the relevance of a sanction, what it means, how it puts you in a box. You can't even relate to certain people. They can't engage you. Banks cannot operate with you. Your funding, if it's out there, it may have money in the US and other places, or he had people that he was sending money to here and they were trying to wash it for him. All of them in trouble. All of them in trouble is about how much and how far does the Office of Foreign Assets Control want to go to suppress and tighten the noose around this very corrupt government. And we'll find out. We'll find out soon. It won't be long because they are still working on other individuals. It's not limited. It's not limited to just McGill. So at the end of the day, Liberia has to change for us to move forward. There is so much potential in Liberia. The young people that are coming up, they got ideas, they got vision, many of them. Just the opportunity is not there. People are closing up that circle, closing up that opportunity for many of these young people to get to that next level, to go beyond what the limit of their Liberian potential is. A lot of Liberians come out of Liberia and they excel. They excel. You know, it's just unfortunate that we have leaders or people in position of power who abuse it and don't try to nurture some of these young people in a holistic way, not just taking one of your picking or two of your picking and say, my man, you can't make it, get away. No, but create that culture and that environment that the majority of Liberians will be able to push forward. And to be honest, I believe that existed before. Otherwise, some of us would never have gotten the education we got. My mom couldn't pay my school fee at CMBA. She couldn't pay my school fee at, Cottington. No. It was through the fact that there was a strict opportunity for people to be able to excel if you had the capability to. And even in my case, when I first took that exam for the scholarship to actually go to Karoha, from 6th grade going to, from 7th grade going to 8th grade, okay? They told my mom, oh, your son failed. My mom said, no, my son ain't failed. My mom went, one guy named Mr. Brown was at Ministry of Education, I think he was the director of scholarship or something. She demanded to see my test paper. Let them bring my test paper to show that her son failed. Lo and behold, they brought my test paper. I had everything correct. And Mr. Brown gave me the scholarship right there. And it was not one day. My mom harassed and she went there like for a week, every day demanding to see Mr. Brown. So, yeah, there's been some corruption, but just the fact there was somebody in a position of authority to say, oh, but the kid actually had the scores to get this scholarship. You can't deny him. So that kind of environment is what we're talking about, a meritocracy, a competitive environment where we can nurture the smarter ones to move up, to do bigger things. The ones who are not as smart, there are opportunities for them in the economy as well. So the stuff that Magedem is doing, and some of those young people are cheering for him and saying sanction, no sanction, is their own dream and future they're killing. Because the economy does not expand at the rate we are going. There are so many limitations. Even Liberians, I know stories. Liberians bring their business opportunities and again, then try to screw them and deal directly with the people. Why are you so greedy? Why can't another Liberian, be economically entrepreneur and benefit from it? Why he has to come to beg you for pennies? We don't need that. Everybody needs to retain their dignity. Everybody needs to do the hustle. And hustle, for my people, hustle is not a bad word. Hustle not stealing. Hustle is putting in the energy to make things happen for yourself. And that's what some people do, especially when they come to this country. They learn how to hustle. You got to learn how to use your individual skills and abilities to benefit you and your family. That's what hustling is. And sadly, McGill and them are suppressing the hustle of the young people. Many of these young people, they got great ideas, whether it's from starting NGO, where they see a need that they can push, that if funded properly, they can impact their community, they can impact their county, they can impact the country. They get denied those opportunities. There are other ones with business ideas. There's no access to capital for them to operate. And sadly, they just think somebody giving them scraps, that it's hardly enough for you to buy soap to table or buy soap to wash your clothes, or buy food to eat, but simply because we have a culture of sycophancy, of paying homage. So these people suppress our young people into these things. Our young people minds need to be liberated. And anybody who's listening and you have any love for Liberia, try to find at least one young person that you can talk to. And even if you are young yourself, find another young person that you can talk to understand that the future is not limited by obedience or loyalty to somebody who's not seeking their interest. No, there's more out there. There's way more out there, you know? So I really wish our people can wake up, because these elections are clear. It's either the past, if you are interested in, former Vice President Joseph Boyka, or the current situation, what's happening today. If you want that, or continuation of what's happening today, how tough it is, how difficult it is, then the obvious choice is just we are. But if you have hope in a better Liberia, and you want some change, you want something different, you want things to be right from some of the basic fundamental things, whether it's police operation, whether it's access to equality in everything, whether it's access to capital, whether it's, a better environment for business. Mr. Cummings is a person. Mr. Cummings has that vision. And trust me, I'll be one of the first people to criticize Mr. Cummings if he's not on that line. If that conviction and that he's demonstrated to me, that vision that I share with him, if it comes to that point and he's not in line with that, I will make my position known. Because at the end of the day, we have to work towards a better Liberia. I got friends who don't believe anything good can happen to Liberia in the next 200 years. So you want to say, in our lifetime, we'll not see a better Liberia? We'll not see Liberia improve, or at least lay the foundation for Liberia to improve? It's because of people like McGill. I mean, some people want to make it seem like McGill had money or working for government before. What kind of nonsense is that? We can get personal here, but McGill had nothing. And we dealt with McGill. And coming into position and utilizing that position to limit other people, limit the entire economy, and just exponentially get rich doesn't sit well with many people. So yes, it's funny though. So we look at now Serena Sifa. Let's see what they said about Sifas. Because all these things, they got some interconnection, they tie in. Okay, so we'll go to Serena Sifa. It says Sifas is the current Solicitor General and Chief Prosecutor of Liberia. Sifa has developed close relationship with suspects of criminal investigations and has received bribes from individuals in exchange for having their cases dropped. That is a fact. That is a fact. Sifas has worked behind the scenes to establish arrangement with subjects of money laundering investigations to seize investigations in order to personally benefit financially. He shields money launderers and helps clear them through the court system, and has intimidated other prosecutors in an attempt to quash investigations. So can you imagine his own peers he's working with, who are on the up and up and want to do things the right way, because he has a close relationship with George Weah, because he's Solicitor General, he will suppress them and intimidate them. Sifas has also utilized his position to hinder investigations and block the prosecution of corruption cases involving members of government. So, members of government. So there are other corrupt people in government that Sifas is protecting. Sifas has been accused of tampering with and purposely withholding evidence in cases involving members of opposition political parties to ensure conviction. That's clear. We said that. He did that in a Cummings case. The photocopy I showed you from the very beginning, where they skip pages that have real content in terms of Cummings sharing with the CPP leadership the documentation that they had agreed on, that entire chain of conversation from like July 7 to like July 20 something. CFOS erased that and did not submit it and say it was inadvertent. No, it was not. CFOS, you are criminal. CFOS is being designated for being a foreign person who is a current government official who is responsible for or complicit in or who has directly or indirectly engaged in corruption, including misappropriation of state assets, the expropriation of private assets for personal gain, corruption related to government contracts, or the extraction of natural resources or bribery. Yes, all of that, CFOS has committed that, you know. And I bet they do have more information on CFOS. CFOS, I mean, corruption reached other CFOS. And you must give him credit, though. CFOS understands the law. CFOS understands the nuances and how you can play around with things to play on people. But you can't use your smartness or your ingenuity against your country, against your people. In a legal case where you're using your knowledge of the law to win the case fairly, yes. But not when you suppress the information, when you know, in the house, they may call it filibustering, but when you just delaying to keep somebody going, a 30-day case, you extend it to 6 months. What are you proving? Trying to prosecute somebody or persecute, I should say, somebody in the village square. You don't do that. Then there's Bill Twelwe, the elephant. He is the current managing director of the National Port Authority, the NPA. Twelwe orchestrated diversion of 1.5 million in vessel storage fee funds from the NPA into a private account. Just imagine. You know what 1.5 million can do for our public schools? Twelwe secretly formed a private company to which, through a position at the NPA, he later unilaterally awarded a contract for loading and unloading cargo at the port of Buchanan. So other people can't eat, other people can't do business. You alone must just control, you alone and your few people with you. The port of Buchanan, I was just talking to somebody, the port of Buchanan can be a thriving port, and Buchanan can be a wonderful city. It is perfectly situated. It has decent tourist attractions. When you go to these different places in Buchanan, they are very beautiful. So a lot of expats could live in that, general area. Then you have companies there, especially metal steel, that exporting a lot of stuff. Then you have the folks coming from Guinea with the iron ore and stuff to the port to ship. Plus, the agricultural environment in Bassa is great. You can grow food for export. So having a free zone like they have planned, and they got nearly 20 million. We don't know what has happened with that. But the port city of Buchanan can be a major thriving economic epicenter for the country, because that is close to center in the middle of the coast of Liberia. That's where Buchanan is. Plus, if you got arteries coming from all over the country down into Buchanan, you got a wonderful situation going on. Okay? So the contract was awarded to the company less than a month after its founding. Here in America, we just put in a cybersecurity contract, a request of proposal. You got to show past performance. If you don't have it just individually, you must have worked with another institution that did something tangible and productive, and you have that information in your past performance. But these guys have no sense of contracting fairly. They will go form a company, or they will just award it to whoever they want to. You squeeze the economy that way. You restrict other people from participation. Twelwe and others use family members to obfuscate. That means to hide their own involvement in the company while still benefiting financially from the company. You put your brother there as the owner. You put your cousin there as the owner. But it's clear that I'm not coming to you. So those three people, it's clear what they've done. You see? And I like this statement here by this person, Yvonne EO. Liberians, wake up. This is your chance to use your voice and help your country survive this mess. Wake up. People need to wake up. Seriously. Look, a lot of people have been disappointed about Liberia and don't want to be involved. But honestly, Liberia is our home. We have to be involved. We have to try to help. It's important. Every Liberian may not be your brother or sister, but they are your fellow citizen. There is a bond there. And we come from the same place. And we have to find a way that we can make this place a wonderful place of livelihood for everybody involved. It's possible. The amount of opportunities in Liberia that we're not exploiting simply because people reject the vision of others when they won't be corrupt or because they didn't come from the right person. So we need to change. There's so much mindset change we need to work with, you know. So it's not easy. So let's look at the implications of these sanctions. So they say, as a result of today's action, all property and interests in property of these targets that are in the United States or in the possession or control of U.S. persons must be blocked and reported to the Office of Foreign Assets Control. So they're telling those people now who Morgan can say Mato or do they for me. If you're a U.S. person, that means you're a resident or you're a citizen. And if you're in control about those kind of thing, property, interest, even information, they say you should report it. They say you must block it and report. So if you don't report and they find out, that's another issue on you. In addition, any entities that are owned directly or indirectly, 50% or more by one or more black persons are also blocked. So you and Maggie got a joint company, and he got majority ownership, just know he's black. OFAC's regulations generally prohibit all dealings by U.S. persons or within the United States, including transactions transiting the United States. So whether you're sending money or all of those kind of things that involve any property or interest in property of black or designated persons, it's prohibited. You can't do it. So you're generating Maya from a gear and you won't send it, or he has on a company where he put his 10 or 20, because they can call him 20% too now, where he can want, but then they can be down to 10 or 15%. So you that person and you collecting his Maya and send it to him, don't try again. In addition, persons that engage in certain transactions with the individuals and entities designated today may themselves be exposed to sanctions or subject to an enforcement action. Furthermore, unless an exception applies, any foreign financial institution that knowingly facilitates or significant transaction for any of the individuals or entities designated today could be subject to U.S. sanctions. So, though banks that are in Liberia, I hope they're reading this too. Because if they facilitate any kind of serious money movement from a girl, that could be a problem for them. And trust me, these people are monitoring anything that's on paper, anything that's on a wire, they are monitoring it. They have serious reach in terms of that capacity. Don't joke with them. The power and integrity of OFAC sanctions derive not only from OFAC's ability to designate add persons to the SDN list, but also from its willingness to remove persons from the SDN list consistent with the law. So if people can clearly say, yeah, they can have, a strong argument where they can lessen the hold on them is possible. But they say the ultimate goal of sanctions is not to punish, but to bring about a positive change in behavior. So I guess the Mogil continue behavior. Maybe they'll give him something. Maybe they'll free him up. For information concerning the process for seeking removal from OFA list, including the SDN list, please refer to OFA frequently asked questions. So that's what the situation is. This last part about the global Magnitsky, you can go and read about it by yourself. But essentially, let me stop sharing. Essentially, that's what this sanction is about. And the sanction is no joke. I hope people take it seriously, real seriously. I jokingly did a post or what's that thing and say, oh, the US government jealous of McGill and this government. Do you believe that some seditionists were carrying that around? They can't understand sarcasm. What reason would the US government have to be jealous of the Liberian government or McGill? My people who need to wake up, who really need to wake up. Yeah, I can feel so sorry. This the excuse. Look, I understand people love Weir. No joke. Weir is a star. You can't take that away from him. But don't let that starry eye fool you that you're stupid enough to say, that the people around Weir. No. Weir is an active participant in this criminality that exists in Liberia today. These economic crimes are going on. Weir is involved. It's up to the Americans to reach to him. Maybe they will need somebody like McGill to sing, somebody like Torrey to sing. Who knows? Maybe even Samuel Torrey will sing. But at some point, they will get there. Because there is no way McGill will operate with all this stuff he's doing. And you say, Joey, I ain't got no idea. Right here in office, you think Joey, I ain't see who can come through. And sometimes people underestimate Joey. Joey is pure banana picking. You already know. Joey is a real banana picking. And he's been around the block. So we got some interesting comments here. Oh my God, this is funny. A lot of people from CDC were looking at Mr. Cummings after President Weir 12 years. You hope President Weir will get 12 years. But now he keep on fighting President Weir government. So many people want to change their mind about Cummings now. Cummings ask y'all if the people who are seditionists are satisfied with what's going on, they can vote for Weir. That's not a problem. Go vote for Weir. Especially some of y'all who's suffering and don't even understand what's going on with governance. Don't vote for Weir. That's what democracy is. We respect your right to vote for who you want to vote for. But how ludicrous is this statement? That Mr. Cummings now will be waiting until 2029 when the people who support Weir say they can't support him. That is the height of stupidity. I'm sorry. Whatever your name is, I won't call your name said before people laugh at you. But seriously, we got to take these things seriously. Okay, there's another point from John Nat. All that money sounds good, but all that money will end up in the pockets of the legislature anyway because the taxes from the multinational companies and from other taxes in the country ends up being used to meet the heavy payroll burden of cutting the large paychecks of the legislatures. That is the main root of the present-day corruption. No, John, it's not. It's not. It's the greed, the excess money that they want. If the legislature were only satisfied with the salary, that's fine. But they're not. They get additional money for operation for programs that are not supposed to be coming to them. They get all the additional benefits. Should we put a fine pen to this and restrict them? Yes, hell yes, we should. The budget needs a full reprioritization, reallocation in terms of where money should go to. high level prioritization, and then we'll break down the details. And we'll look at some of the places where no money should be going. You know how much entertainment job we are getting in our budget. So it's just something that all of us actually Mo Frederick says, can you imagine seditions are talking about due process, and that's why can't just fire McGill? Look, the Constitution gives the president the power. The people he appoints, they operate based on basically his will and pleasure. So if at the end of the day he can build that fortitude and he's not scared that McGill will rat on him, he can fire McGill. As a matter of fact, there should be no reason McGill should stay in that position. You know? So that's why we come now to what Mr. Cummings said. Okay? Let me find that document. I saw it on Mr. Cummings was firm in what he thought were with regards to these sanctions. And it's not new. Mr. Cummings has been talking about this corruption, has been talking about us doing something as a people. But unfortunately, many times we're not ready as a people to challenge some of these corrupt things that are going on. So they tend to continue. But let's see if we can read the Cummings statement. Or, maybe I don't want to bore you and read the whole thing. So we'll take some excerpts and read them. But let me share the screen so you can see and read along in terms of what Mr. Cummings' position is regarding this. So real change is coming. And real change is because everybody thought change is change. But substantive change that can bring about transformation is what Mr. Cummings is talking about. And we can always break down his agenda to show how real change can be effected under the policy that he brings. But that's for another day, not today. So it says, statement in reaction to the imposition of sanctions on high-ranking officials of the WIA government by Mr. Alexander B. Cummings, political leader of the ANC and presumptive standard bearer of the collaborating political parties, the CPP. My fellow Liberians, President George Weah and his administration of thieves are continuing to disgrace our country and worsen the living conditions of all of us. Such is the seriousness of the stealing from the Liberian people that 3 of President Weah's closest members of his inner circle have been sanctioned by the United States government. Okay? So you see here the description of the administration of thieves. And seriously, this is an embarrassment and disgrace to our country for us to be in the headlines for these kinds of things. And yet we are saying that our bicentennial won't invite people to the country. We're not wishing ill for Liberia. We want Liberia to be the best. We want Liberia to be clean. We want Liberia to be a destination place that people can come to. People can enjoy. Their life can be free. They can be safe. They want to stay, fine. They want to leave, fine. We are not that densely populated. That's why we have so much land for agriculture and other stuff, housing. People can build new communities in Liberia. It's possible. And there are people interested in doing that. We got more than 40,000 Liberians who will be approaching retirement age, or some of them already in retirement. If Liberia had only 2 or 3 basic things, good hospital, good health care, the life and security was there, right? And the ability to go places, that means the road network was comfortable and convenient. For some people, certain roads they travel in Liberia, if they're pregnant, that's just automatic abortion or miscarriage. So fundamental things, even the electricity that people can do, or we do need decentralized electricity, clean energy. But hey, if it's not there, some people are willing to be in Liberia still because they can bring their own solar panels or they can use generators. And these are people who easily on a monthly basis, their revenue is $2,000 net. I can afford to hire 5 people that 125 each or even 150 each, plus their food, and to be able to put gas in their car. They can live on that and enjoy Liberia. Can you imagine? Let me do the math quick. If 20,000 people are getting $2,000 a month, about 4 million? No, more than that. $40 million, right? Out of 20,000 people, $40 million coming in your economy on a monthly basis. When you tell me about 12, $480 million easily we can add to our GDP. That's our gross domestic product. Our GDP we can add if we had a decent diaspora program and we can just improve some of our infrastructure. We get nearly $500 million added to our economy. So each of those people then, they will have watchmen, they will have cook, they will have houseboy, and they will have driver. Minimum 4. So that 4 employees for each of the 20,000 people. Then how many jobs there? 80,000 jobs. So why does it not make sense to be able to attract that base? And then when you get the people, you get the friends. Because some of them have built institutions in this country. They got strong relationships with people. So what don't we understand? That we just got to focus on the small part, the shrinking part, and be as corrupt as possible while we hindering the expansion of our economy, the involvement of more people. Nah, man, it's crazy. When that's true. For the lack of vision, a nation will perish. That's a fact. So it continues, Mr. Cummings. The action of the United States government, which was recently announced by the U.S. ambassador to Liberia, imposes sanctions on Minister of State Nathaniel McGill, Solicitor General Seymour Serena Cephas, and National Port Authority Manager Director Bill Torrey for what the U.S. government says is the acts of corruption and other criminal conducts. The sanctions imposed on Messrs. McGill, Cephas, and Torrey are pursuant to the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act of 2017, which targets perpetrators of serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world. We just said that. We just went through that. The sanctions are targeted in support of the suffering Liberian people. That's what Liberian people need to know. This is for them. This is to stop people stealing for them. Mr. Cummings said a sense of clear and serious message to the corrupt and abusive administration of President Weah. Accordingly, we welcome this important public accountability action by the United States government. For too long, the Weah administration has misled the country and has failed to take the necessary actions to address the many scandals and reports of stealing and human rights abuses of the administration. That's a fact. So many cases just die. All the different young people are died. Whether it's the princess or whether it's the 4 boys or whether it's the young babies or whether it's the rape kids, all these abuses just die. All these criminal acts just die because somebody who is a big shot has an interest. That's impunity, pure impunity. Mr. Cummings continues, for too long in the administration of our country, too few Liberians have continued to illegally and corruptly enrich themselves, while too many ordinary families have had to go to bed hungry. Too many schools are without teachers and adequate learning implements. Too many young people are unemployed and unemployable, and we'll come back to that word, while teachers, doctors, nurses, and civil servants are grossly underpaid. And too many hospitals are without medicines and beds. All of these neglects of the suffering people while officials are stealing and enriching themselves. This is wicked and unacceptable leadership. I really cannot understand why Liberians will accept leadership like this. Nobody say go haku, but you got to start to open your eyes. In a year and less, you'll be able to have that decision to make. And I just hope people can really open their eyes and make the right decision. Because many of the youth, even if you won't employ them today, you got to teach them up. You got to do accelerator programming for them because they are unemployable. They don't have the skills necessary. And we have so much opportunity and advantage simply because we are an English-speaking nation and we're going to adjust fast. Our people are fast learners. I really believe in Liberians being smart. I could be biased, I don't know. But I really believe we are smart people. And when we apply ourselves, we even get better results. But this situation we're in here, look at the Global Fund the other day, the Ministry of Health, all of them playing inside the people's money. How can you serve your people as a civil, that's what it says, civil servant, government official. Service should be your primary role, your goal. But no, people won't focus on stealing. So Cummings says the wealth of Liberia belongs to all Liberians. Fact, it's our bounty, it's our shared bounty. It does not and should not ever be seen to belong to only public officials or some officials of government. Unfortunately, that's the mindset. You heard the people who were sitting there with McGill talking the nonsense about if we steal our own and we're building house here, yeah. That justification for corruption there. And I wonder, was he already aware of his case and trying to make a public spin on his corruption? That is so sad. Even worse, it is deeply offensive for rogues to publicly boast of stealing from babies, children, pregnant mothers, students, unemployed youths, the elderly and struggling families, and then arrogantly and unbelievably ask the people they have stolen from to applaud and reward them for doing so. Son of a really telling Liberian people is stupid. Folks, it is time for real change and serious leadership in our country. It is time to stop this lack of accountability in our country. Under our Cummings administration, if a government official steals, he or she will end up in the same common jail as any other rogue because that government official is a rogue. You see from government, you rogue, plain and simple. Justice must not and will not discriminate. It must and will be served equally and blindly to the big and small, as well as to the haves and have-not alike. This is how we change the country and truly lift the Liberian people from poverty by holding each other accountable and to higher standards. No question about it, folks. If everybody can be accountable to one common set of principles, right? And when you go outside of that boundary, the integrity institutions are there to hold you accountable. Liberia will be a straight place. Because don't tell me that people, some of the most corrupt people, can come from Liberia to America and be refined and operate. It's because there's a system. There are penalties if you do some things wrong. You have to work within the limit of the law. So he says, my fellow citizens, we take note that President Weah has announced suspensions of the sanctions officials of his administration pending. There you go. Somebody to my door. Yo, hold on. Let me see because this dog is loud. Hey, we're busy right now. We are busy right now, okay? Sorry, folks, it's summertime. These kids are selling all kind of stuff. They got made like their money to go back to school. But right now, focus on my Liberia business. So we take note that President Weah has announced these suspensions of the sanctioned officials of his administration, pending another of his administration's many publicly announced investigations, which all too often have left much to be desired. Fact, the announced suspension of President Weah's closest cronies exposes the unsettling truth about our president. President Weah, and this is key, President Weah is either dangerously derelict, okay? That means he shirked all responsibility, which is a danger as a president. You're not even monitoring what's happening in your country. Or shamefully complicit in the stealing and abuses that have swallowed up his administration. First, It should never require the intervention of the United States government for President Weah to act against the pervasive wave of corruption, explosion of crimes in our streets and communities, violation of human rights, and abuse of public offices which continue unabated under the watch of this administration. Those are all facts. Those are all facts. People who used to get up 5 o'clock in the morning back in 2017 to go to the market, come home late, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, certain areas, you cannot do that under this Weah administration. The crime is so high, and they protect criminals as well. President Weah may pretend all he wants, but the corruption, lawlessness, and unaccountable behaviors on his watch are well known to the Liberian people. Fact. The second thing, Mr. Weah and his administration have announced several investigations into murders, mysterious deaths, and disappearances, and corruption in the past. Results of many of these investigations have yet to be made public or to lead to desirable outcomes. Announcing yet another investigation amounts to a cover-up that deceives only himself. Thirdly, in many cases of corruption, including accusations involving President Weah himself, he has not acted to hold his officials accountable or to even clear his own name. As stealing in government has increased manifold, that means many times, way more than what it was before, and the actions of public officials have proven to be increasingly abusive. Fourthly, President Weah has emboldened his officials to steal and behave unaccountably by his very bad examples, or suddenly coming into unexplained wealth, which he began to publicly display in the purchase and building of personal condominium resorts and even an entire personal city immediately after inauguration. This is after declaring to a United States court that he was indigent and incapable of meeting his father's responsibility to a mother and daughter. Miape can tell you, some of us were in Liberia calling Miape for that kid's business, trying to see if we could resolve the issues between them. Unfortunately, it is where it is. My people, Mr. Cummings says, a fish rats from the head, and we all know that that's a standard Liberian parable. Fish get ratting from the head. President Weah is the head of this rotting fish, which his administration is being shown to be. As president, Weah has not just disappointed Liberian people and disgraced our country by his lack of leadership, but also he has continued to encourage stealing by his public officials, especially those very close to him, both by his bad examples and by his seeming complicity, which makes him incapable of acting against his officials for stealing. That's true. Who Weah can fire? Weah is weak as a president. And that's just the opposite. I really thought this guy was not going to tolerate corruption. Unfortunately, it seems like that's his stronghold. That's where he enjoys. Mr. Cummings said today, government officials no longer declare the assets because the president does not declare his and likely will embarrass himself by declaring his asset publicly because, where you got all that thing from? Obviously, President Weah lacks the will and standing to fight stealing in his administration. I repeat, obviously, President Weah lacks the will and standing to fight stealing in his administration. It is telling that officials targeted by the sanctions are the most powerful members of President Weah's inner circle. Hey, real people. The performance and activities of Mr. Weah's chief of staff and gatekeeper over the last 5 years has to be rightly viewed as reflecting the image, character, and values of the president. That is profound. I hope you understand it. The performance and activities of Mr. Weah's chief of staff and gatekeeper in the person of Nathan McGill over the last 5 years has to be rightfully viewed as reflecting the image, character, and values of the president. It's tough for anyone to argue that. This is your right-hand person who reflects your image. Whatever they do is a reflection on you. And he's been doing and doing. And Weah has just been in the background, thinking that McGill is the only one who would take blame. But it's a direct reflection on him. Now, this is the coup de grace right here. If Weah did not know what his gatekeeper was doing, then Weah is an incompetent and inept leader. Fact. If President Weah knew what his gatekeeper was doing and he did not act to stop him, which appears to be more likely the case, then he is a partner, enabler, and facilitator of the stealing. And I will even add beneficiary of the stealing. According to all the stories, when you get the money, you go to Ochi, thank you. Thank you. As president, Mr. Weah has a duty to protect and preserve the integrity of the country and the best interests of the Liberian people. These sanctions speak poorly about how he has continued to perform in carrying out the duties to manage our country and its resources. The sanctions are therefore serious and should be responded to seriously. As such, President Weah's mere suspension of his officials and close confidants is not good enough to address the injuries caused to the Liberian people by the actions of these individuals, nor is it enough to exonerate the president from the growing public impression of his participation in the commission of these high crimes. The committee said, I strongly urge the president to therefore dismiss the designated persons and formally request the assistance of the United States government to prosecute them in keeping with Liberian law. This is not the time for bogus suspension, cover-ups, and fake investigation. That's a fact. The people say they are credibly accusing McGill. That means they're not doing it blindly. They have information to substantiate that McGill is a criminal. The committee said, finally, my fellow Liberians, the government of the United States cannot continue to do for Liberia and Liberians what we can and must do for ourselves. That's a fact. That is why I agree with the U.S. ambassador when he said, it is my hope that Liberians that are today being victimized by these actions of corruption will feel empowered to peacefully stand up to corruption and say no more. So even the American ambassador is suggesting that Liberians then find their voice, that they wake up, that they stand up against corruption in their country. So let's see what Mr. Cummings said. Well, no more must we accept the use of past wrongs to justify the continuation of wrongs against the Liberian people, now or in the future. So, you're listening to Mr. Cummings, what he's saying, if he come to power, nobody in his government should say, oh, Joey, I didn't want corrupt. So that no, that's not the idea. And how about Joey, I didn't do that. Because Ellen didn't want corrupt, so we can be corrupt. Look how much cases you're making with the people. It's just sad that people who really care about this country want to make a change will be making those kind of, rationalization, stupid rationalization for why they are corrupt. Okay. So again, the comments say, well, no more must we accept the use of past wrongs to justify the continuation of wrongs against the Liberian people now or in the future. The change we seek for our country must be one to correct wrongs and not justify and repeating them. No more must we fear our government, which we elected to serve us. We shouldn't be scared of government, but everybody is scared. People even scared who don't believe in the government to stand up and say, I don't believe in this government. I want to work with Mr. Cummings. They're scared because they intimidate, and the people did say that in the report, that McGill would intimidate others. He would intimidate the opposition. They do it. Somebody got a late contract based on their own negotiation or their own performance or abilities or capabilities to produce. You will take it from them simply because they're not kissing your ring or kissing your toe. It's crazy. So no more must we fear our government, which we elected to serve us. No more must we believe we need to accept the wrongs of government officials whose duty it is to set higher standards of moral leadership and to lead by good examples. No more must we believe we are powerless in our democracy, for which many sacrifice and die. No more must we believe that the handouts of rogues somehow justify the stealing and looting they continue to carry out in the country. That's an important advice to our young people. Those scraps from the table, the sloppy seconds that they offer you, it's not good enough for them to justify their stealing or to justify your support of them. You young people got so much potential. You got to move away from this dependency culture that these big shots can just exploit you. The committee said, no more. Enough is enough. On behalf of all Liberians everywhere, I commend the United States government for its decision to stand with the Liberian people and to expose and punish the increasing wave of stealing and abuse of public office by the officials of the George Weah-led administration. Liberia is too rich for Liberians to be so poor. Fact. Liberia cannot continue to be a country to be repeatedly exploited by its leaders while the majority of Liberians live in worsening conditions of hardship and backwardness. Real change is coming. We really welcome it. Liberia deserves better, and Liberians deserve better. So, folks, that was Mr. Cummings right there, really laying it out for us, telling us some of the things that we need to hear. So, it's no joke. The stealing has been rampant. You look, even the different procurement managers, nearly most of them are rogues in the government. So there's just so much clean up that needs to happen. If you're working with somebody at the top and they're stealing, there's no way you look at it every day where you're suffering to come home, this, that, and you're not steal too. Most of them is a chain reaction. So to say anything coming to the people, zero. So let's see what Tupac Kwoi said. I think the only reason that Twe and Samora locally were not named at this time is because they are principal fiduciary signatories or signatures to national financial transaction with Federal Reserve and Treasury is trying to minimize disruption to international businesses. There were similar hiccups with Salif during the CBL saga. We'll see whether those hiccups are necessary. Sometimes you got to shut everything down to get it right. Shut it down. Isa again. Isa can talk. Isa said, Isaac, I'm hoping that the Cummings administration will ban those criminals we call money changers. Those criminals are compromising our direct foreign exchange. We must use the banking system. That's a great point. I mean, you do need money changers, but at the end of the day, we need to become more banked. There's a lot of non-banking or unbanking that exists in the country because people don't trust the banking system. Even with the mobile money thing, soon people get their money on there. They will not use it as an exchange mechanism. They want to cash it out straight because they don't believe that at some point later, when they want their money, they will get the money. So, the key is, how do we open up the economy? How do we get more people into the formal economy? How do we get these people to utilize mobile money or just, financial technology to advance our finance system in Liberia? All of those things are things we need to do. So Mr. Cummings has a plan to, yes, Mr. Cummings does. He engage the legislator to restructure their salary. The salary is not something that's sustainable at the level. And the fact that they can just decide anytime to increase their salary is one of the biggest drag. And that's something that has to be worked on. What is the national GDP and how much is collected in taxes? Most unemployed collect 15% of the taxes. Apparently, salary burden. Yeah, John, and all these numbers are out there. You look at the budget, you can see that. You can see where the different streams of revenues are coming from. You can see the percentages, and then you can plan and prioritize to move in a different direction. And that's one of the key things. If we open our agriculture sector, we open our tourism sector, we open our business processes outsourcing sector. You got a lot of people, a lot of young people doing technology stuff there at these different technology institutions in Liberia. We already speak decent enough English. Training them up to be able to be, customer service people, to be able to be, technical experts for different applications, around the world, or for banks, or for big businesses that need that kind of service outsourced. It's possible, but government has to open up the landscape to encourage Liberians to be a part of this global economic process that's going on. Right now, we're in a box. We don't have that opportunity, but hopefully we will. So I missed George today. He was not here, but giving the information out there, it's been exciting. It's been good to talk about. But at the end of the day, it's about the solutions that Mr. Cummings will bring. And, we'll talk about some of those solutions. We'll talk about his vision. Primarily, he's focused on how can he transform Liberia from where we are today into 21st century country because we're not there. There's so many things missing. And he believes that changing the hearts and minds of our people and also building the right infrastructure in a strategic way would be the key impetus to moving those key areas of his pillars, the healthcare, the education, the agriculture sector, the job creation, the empowerment of women. All of those things happen if you have the right foundation to build on. And that's what Mr. Cummings wants to do. So I really appreciate all of you participating, being on the show. We look forward to next Wednesday when George will be on. But again, on Friday, hopefully Malabar will have better internet. He and I will be on the wire, the week in review exclusive, and bring all the activities of the week to you. We'll probably rehash some of these same things, but try to look at them from a different angle. And we just gotta keep talking, trying to educate our people, trying to get them to understand how we move this country forward. So I say thank you for listening and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day, rest of the week. Peace.